Welcome to the Harambee Book Club. We are celebrating moments of joy, solidarity, and sharing. It's an opportunity for us to engage in community building by reading a special book. So the book that we'll focus on today is my very own. It's called Joey and Grandpa Johnson's Day in Rondo. It focuses on telling my own Rondo story. As a proud daughter of Rondo, I know the importance of community, establishing values, establishing customs, and even those rituals of celebrating each other, uplifting our children, and more importantly, the power of coming together to find those moments of joy, to celebrate life, to celebrate love, and to celebrate community. So when I think about it, and if we pause and reflect, the first question that I have for you is, what does joy mean to you? So when I think about the word joy, I think about something that I actively choose. The same way when I think about the word hope, oftentimes you think about it as a feeling or something that's given to you. But I think both joy and hope offer us an opportunity to take action, to really make it come alive. For joy, it's me setting a mindset that I'll find joy even writing my books and teaching and working and serving in the community. Does that mean every occasion is joyous? No, but it does mean that we can create those opportunities to celebrate each other, to uplift each other, to inspire each other. And in this time right now in this season, we can do this even if we cannot come together in person. How can we use those virtual tools to connect, to uplift each other, and to just send those words of encouragement? Once again, that's an action. That's an action of sharing joy and uplifting joy in some meaningful ways. So one of the steps that I have for us today is through a reading of the book, Joey and Grandpa Johnson's Day in Rondo. Finding those moments of joy. Can you identify those moments where Joey is overjoyed? He's not just joyed, that he is overjoyed about the opportunity to connect with the community elders, to learn about his rich Rondo history, and to discover and learn something new. So join me as we read Joey and Grandpa Johnson's Day in Rondo. I wrote the book, but it was illustrated by Broderick Poole and made possible by a fabulous publishing company called Minnesota in Black Ink. And if you don't know anything about the history of Rondo, I just want to take a moment to give you an overview of our community. It's in the prologue of the book. It says, people of African descent, African Americans, Black people, have lived and worked in Minnesota for over 200 years, since the early 1800s, before it became a state. Minnesota became a part of the United States in 1858. St. Paul, Minnesota state capital, became a major city in the early 1900s. Many African Americans made St. Paul their home, but due to segregation and discrimination, they were only allowed to live in certain areas. African Americans were forced to live west of downtown St. Paul. This area was bound generally from Rice Street to Lexington Boulevard, so that's the east-west boundary, and from University Avenue to Selby Avenue, that's the north-south boundary. This nearly 2-square-mile area was informally known as the Rondo neighborhood, due to Rondo Avenue being the main street for business and commerce in the middle of this community. 90% of Black people in St. Paul lived in the Rondo neighborhood into the late 1960s. Rondo was a thriving community despite racism, discrimination, and segregation. Two forces caused the migration of Black people out of this healthy neighborhood. One, the construction of the freeway called Interstate 94 or I-94. This freeway was constructed down the main vein of Rondo, uprooting most of the Black businesses and a significant portion of Black residents. And secondly, fair housing laws were passed in Minnesota and Washington, D.C., allowing African Americans to live wherever they wanted, making housing discrimination against the law. These forces helped change the Black community in many ways, some good and some bad. The Rondo children's book series are stories that provide reflections of moments during the days when the Rondo community existed in full vibrancy. The Rondo core values developed by our very own elder, Marvin Roger Anderson of Rondo Avenue, Inc., underpin each unique story in this 8-book series. So I encourage you also to read the other accompanying book, which is called Rondo Spirit. So as we take a look at this first piece, I encourage you to learn more about the history of your hometown, about your neighborhood. How did it get started? Who were the people who lived there? Who lives there today? And what are some of the common values that help to draw the community together? So let's get started on a reading adventure to learn more about Joey and Grandpa Johnson's day in Rondo. So Saturday morning, visiting Grandpa was the highlight of Joey's week. He did a daily count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until he reached day number 6. The 6th day was Saturday. Joey woke up early every Saturday. He was excited to spend time with his grandpa. So with this picture and this illustration, you can see Joey, you can see the excitement. He can't wait for which day again? Day number 6, for Saturday, to spend some time with his grandfather. Wake up, Joey, it's time for breakfast, Mama said. Joey could smell in the air his favorite foods, pancakes and bacon. He quickly got dressed and brushed his teeth. He packed his brown backpack with his pencil and notepad. He placed it on his back and ran down the stairs and greeted Mama with a big hug. So you see Joey filling up his backpack and getting ready to go. Good morning, Mama and Papa, Joey said. Good morning, little Joey, they said in unison. Papa continued to flip pancakes and talked about how the Johnson family had moved to the Rondo neighborhood in the early 1920s. Joey began eating his breakfast in a hurried manner and gulped his freshly squeezed orange juice with a big sigh. Slow down, Joey, and chew your food. That's bad table manners, Papa said. So you have Joey, his little sister, his mother and father joining Saturday morning time together as a family. Joey nodded shyly and began to chew more deliberately. Excitement was bubbling in his belly. Soon it would be Grandpa time. Mama smiled knowingly. Every Saturday, Joey was in a hurry to get to Grandpa Johnson's house. Joey, what are you going to do with your grandpa? Mama inquired. Joey leapt to his feet and said, Grandpa told me, today we're going to visit a few of his friends in Rondo. He grabbed his backpack and waited for Papa to put on his shoes and jacket. So we'll pause here. What are some of those traditions in your family? Who are the community elders who have inspired you? And what are some of those learning lessons? What are some of the things that you've learned from your community elders? So for me, like Joey, and hence why I wrote this book of an importance of spending time with your grandparents and the special time that you have together, or the weekends and the holidays. For me, it was spending time with my grandparents as well, learning everything from gardening to canning our own foods, to learning even one thing that for my grandparents was very important was that we each learned an instrument, and we learned about sports and recreational activities. We had from everything to sledding to learn how to ski as well. But when we look at this specifically, as I go through that list of examples, those are all opportunities for our family to come together, to have those moments of joy, of learning, of engagement, and growing together. So what are some of those traditions for your family? And what are some of those experiences? And how can you create new ones or build upon the ones that you already know? So let's take a look at the pictures here. You'll get a chance to see Joey and his mother. She's asking some of the questions of what he's excited about. And of course, he's excited about his Rondo community. So Papa walked Joey a few blocks down Dale Street to Grandpa's house. Along the way, his neighbors, Miss Bertha and Miss Thelma, were working in the garden and sweeping their front steps. They greeted Joey with a beaming smile and waved as he passed by. Good to see you, Joey. Hope you have fun with your grandpa today. He waved and responded, Thank you, ma'am, as he briskly walked towards Grandpa's front gate. This is very important to me as well. What are those moments of connecting with your neighbors? This to me was some of the greatest highlights of walking through my neighborhood in Rondo and greeting each of the community elders, greeting our neighbors, and finding out a little bit more about their day, learning more about their life journeys. So when you think about this, don't miss those moments of joy to reach out, whether it's through a phone call, whether it's through Zoom, or just that hello right in your neighborhood as you're walking down the street. You can make a difference in someone else's life, brighten their day. with that generous smile of yours and the opportunity to connect in some meaningful ways. So Miss Bertha, Miss Thelma are inspired by the community elders that live in my neighborhood that I enjoy not just saying hello to, but I enjoyed as a part of our weekly chores, reaching out to them and asking how we could support them. So as our young people, I give you a bit of a challenge. Get to know some of your community elders, get to know your neighbors, and think about how you can help to support them as well. So you get, and you can see it here, they're gardening and they're out in the neighborhood and Joey is waving, but he's ready to go. And I hope you are too. We're ready to go meet Grandpa Johnson. So Grandpa, Grandpa, Joey shouted with joy. I'm in the back, Grandpa replied. He walked hand in hand with Papa to the back. Grandpa was working on his car. He turned with open arms, and Joey ran into his arms. Grandpa lifted him high into the sky and made airplane noises. Swoosh, swoosh. So you see that greeting. Grandpa's lifting him high into the sky. And Grandpa's sharing a special moment of joy here. Listen to what Grandpa says. Joey closed his eyes as a cool air brushed across his face. You can soar, Grandpa whispered in his ear. Joey, in a soft voice that rang like a beautiful song in the air, declared, soar to new heights. Grandpa made a gesture of a slow descent. Joey gently landed back on his feet. Joey loved when Grandpa let him soar. He felt as free as a bird, light as a feather, and as strong as the wind. Papa waved goodbye to Grandpa and Joey. He knew that they were now in their own world, filled with excitement and adventure. So you see Joey in Grandpa Johnson's arms and preparing to soar. So as we think about some of the lessons that you can take away from Joey and Grandpa Johnson's day in Rondo, it's a reminder of thinking about, what does the word community mean to you? What are your community values? And what are the moments that you can use to help connect with others in your community? And remember, I close with a reminder where we started as we think about creating moments of joy, solidarity, and sharing. That joy is that action. So find some ways to not only bring joy into your life, but to bring joy in the lives of others. So Grandpa Johnson is bringing a bit of joy with those special Saturday learning lessons and adventures with Joey. And Joey, as I told you, by serving in his community, is bringing joy to some of the community elders, helping with some of the chores, whether it's shoveling or mowing the lawn. Joey is reaching out and being a part of the community, which is a focus on unity. So I hope you enjoy and reflect upon, how do we build a community that's full of joy, that's full of unity? Thank you.